Centennial celebration of my alma mater's founding. The school specially invited me, now a moderately successful alumnus, to return and deliver a speech, even arranging for me to sit in the center seat of the keynote guest section. As the host introduced the next speaker, I was looking down at my phone, preparing to coordinate with the law firm regarding a case. Next, let's welcome Ryan, recipient of the Bright Start Scholarship, to the stage for his speech. Ryan? Why does this name sound so familiar? I had just looked up when I saw the boy stepping onto the stairs. He was wearing a custom-tailored suit and a sapphire watch on his wrist, the very same limited edition piece I had custom-ordered abroad last year, the only one in the world. But these weren't the most outrageous things. The most outrageous part was that the speech he held in his hand contained the exact same passage I had delivered at the Global Summit Forum 3 years earlier. Word for word. He stood on stage, poised and confident. The entire audience erupted in applause, while the projection screen displayed the caption, "Nobility emerges from humble origins. A poor student can defy fate and change their destiny." I turned on my phone, pressed the record button, and aimed it at the stage. Ryan was still delivering his emotional speech on the podium. I once thought my life was bleak, but bright stars shone into my dark world. I recorded his entire speech, then zoomed in on his suit and watch, finally capturing the bold declaration on the projection screen. Hard work plus gratitude. Then, I packaged all the footage and sent it to Mary, accompanied by 4 lines of text. "Darling, what a coincidence. I saw my missing suit and watch today. That guy even memorized my speech word for word. Tell me, if I report this to the police, would this level of infringement and theft be punishable?" At that moment, the spotlight swept across the audience, and Mary's face was projected onto the big screen, crystal clear. She was holding a cheer sign that read, "Go Ryan, you're the best." I looked at her, slightly curled my lips, stood up, walked past the guest seats, approached her, and spoke with a smile. "Mary, what a coincidence." Mary's face changed color faster than I had imagined. She struggled to sit up, trying to pull me down. "George, this isn't what you think." I avoided her hand and smiled faintly. "Oh, really?" The host also noticed the commotion and quickly smoothed things over. "You two guests know each other, right? Mary came here today specifically to cheer for Ryan." As soon as the words were spoken, the entire venue erupted in murmurs. My identity is well known. Founder of the Bright Start Scholarship, founding partner of a top-tier law firm, head of the independent fashion brand L.Z., and one of the most significant donors to this centennial school celebration. And now, here we are. The student I sponsored is wearing my suit, reciting my old speech, while my wife holds up a cheering sign in the audience. Was even publicly called out by the host. I turned to face Mary, my voice extremely gentle. "When did you start cheering for him?" She opened her mouth, but before she could speak, Ryan sent a message. He actually found my WeChat. "Attorney George, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Mary said you agreed, and I'm truly touched. I won't let you down." Immediately followed by several more messages. "The suit looks great, and the watch fits perfectly. Thank you so much for lending them to me for the speech. I want to become a man like you in the future, someone who can help others die." I laughed and turned to ask Mary, "Did you give him my WeChat?" Mary's throat tightened. He was feeling down before, and I was worried he might do something rash, so I gave it to him. He just said he wanted to thank you. I nodded. He even thanked me for giving him the speaking opportunity. "Did you also let him take the suit and watch?" She was speechless. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "Why didn't you just hand him my ID too, so he could fully act out this identity?" She furrowed her brows. "George, you're being too sensitive. He's just a student." "Have you forgotten?" I interrupted her. "He's the student I sponsored, not you. Since when did you think you could make decisions about him on my behalf?" She paused her breathing, her expression slightly flustered. I didn't give her a chance to continue making excuses, instead turning to walk toward the backstage. Just before going on stage, I deliberately brushed past Ryan. When he saw me, the smile on his face froze. "Attorney George," he timidly began. I stopped, the corners of my mouth lifting, my gaze icy. You performed quite well. Compared to my speech several years ago, your delivery was more emotionally charged and impactful. His face changed. I didn't plagiarize. I didn't give him a chance to explain, leaning close to whisper in his ear, Ryan, welcome to becoming my special focus from now on. You want to ride the wave? No problem. But don't forget, I can also make you fall back down. His pupils trembled, his steps unsteady, almost losing his balance. I smiled and patted his shoulder before walking onto the stage. Standing at the podium, watching the waves of applause from the audience below, I suddenly realized, some people really don't know their limits. He wants to climb up by stepping on me. Fine, then let him taste the feeling of falling from a great height. Ryan is even better at packaging than I imagined. When I got home, Mary still didn't give me a straightforward explanation, instead downplaying it. He meant no harm. He admires you so much that he imitates you and learns from you. You know how fragile many kids are these days. He really has no one else to rely on. I curled my lips. So you became a safe harbor? She fell silent. I stood up and walked into the study, accessing the back-end system of the Bright Start Scholarship. I remembered when he submitted his application. He claimed to be an orphan with no parents, surviving on part-time jobs, psychologically fragile and emotionally unstable. Yet I discovered his account suddenly became wealthy half a year ago. He received a one-time anonymous donation of 100,000 yuan. I didn't need to check to know who gave the money. I was just puzzled that the money was transferred from our joint family account, and Mary didn't mention a word about it to me. I didn't ask her. I started investigating him. It took me less than 3 days to find out that his part-time job at the Soul Painting Studio was actually a platform charging an IQ tax under the guise of charity. Not only did he tell Mary his tragic stories, but he also used the painting supplies she gave him to sell high-priced therapeutic paintings online. Each painting's note read, "Thank you, Mary, for helping me escape the darkness of life." I took screenshots and saved them in a folder titled Parasite. Overnight, this boy seemed to stretch his tentacles like an octopus, reaching into every corner and crevice of our marriage, life, finances, and reputation. And my wife, the one who should have been most vigilant, was still immersed in the illusion that he was just a pitiable child. That night before bed, I noticed Mary staring blankly at her phone, so I quietly walked over. She didn't notice me behind her. On the screen was a photo sent by Ryan. He was getting in 4 drip in the hospital, his face pale. Below the picture was a line of text. "Mary, I really don't want to trouble you, but I have no one else. I'm sorry, I made a slight sound," and her hand trembled as she quickly locked the screen. "Since when did you learn to lock the screen so fast?" I said in a flat tone. She scratched her forehead. "He's hospitalized, emotionally broken," and said not to tell anyone. I just wanted to comfort him a bit. "Then do you want to comfort your husband too?" Seeing my calm expression, she panicked instead. "George, nothing happened between us. I just wanted to help him. You know, after all these years in psychological intervention, I fear cases like this the most. He's just too sensitive." I looked at her quietly. "If he dies, can you take the responsibility? If he's really sick, why didn't he go to the counselor? Why didn't he see a doctor? Why didn't he call 120? Instead, he came to you, a married woman. What do you think you are to him? He's just using you as a tool. The more pitiful he acts in front of you, the more cunning he is in front of others. You're just another fish in his pond." She was left speechless by my words. I turned and went upstairs, throwing over my shoulder, "If you still want to save him, starting tomorrow, separate the family account from mine. From now on, I want to know the source of every penny he takes." Mary has been saying she's busy with work lately, coming home at 10 p.m. for 3 nights in a row. I didn't press her for details. It was Mary's location tracking feature that accidentally revealed everything on the night she forgot to turn it off. The GPS showed her car parked in front of the most expensive Western restaurant downtown. And that restaurant happened to be the very place where we had our first anniversary dinner and our first date. I didn't call or send a WeChat message. I just quietly switched to an alternate social media account. Then I saw Ryan's story post. First time eating at a place like this since childhood. Thank you, Mary. The accompanying photo showed clinking wine glasses and candlelight on the table. Just outside the frame was a woman's arm, wearing the familiar beige lace shirt cuff with the wristwatch I gave as a wedding anniversary gift. I stared at that post, my fingers gradually tightening into fists. Just the night before, she had told me she was working overtime until dawn. Yet now, she was celebrating a boy barely in his 20s birthday, wearing the gifts I'd given her. I didn't disturb her, just opened the billing app and checked her recent spending records. Gift purchase, 3,280 yen, restaurant payment. 5,600 yen, luxury department store purchase. 19,980 yen. I zoomed in on that last record. It was a counter purchase for a luxury brand's men's belt. It suddenly dawned on me that on the day Ryan received his award, he was indeed wearing a belt with a luxury logo. I recognized it well because I had bought one for myself too. But mine is still sitting in the closet, unopened to this day. I closed my phone and sent a message to my personal accountant. Starting tomorrow, freeze the family's spending privileges under Mary's name. Any large transfers will require my personal authorization. Also, pull up the spending records for the past 6 months. After doing this, I casually took out that belt that was still in its unopened packaging. The next morning, I placed it on the dining table. Mary had just finished washing up and came downstairs. She froze for a moment when she saw the gift box. "What's this?" she asked. I smiled. "A gift." She hesitated before opening it. When she saw the exact same belt she had just given away the day before, her expression instantly stiffened. I laughed. "Didn't you just buy this yesterday?" I suddenly want one too, but I'd feel embarrassed wearing the same design. Mary was momentarily speechless, her face alternating between pale and flushed. I stopped looking at her and said indifferently, "Next week is our company's anniversary celebration. We've invited industry leaders, as well as my parents. Don't be late when the time comes." She hesitated for a few seconds. That day happens to be Ryan's birthday too. He said he wanted to invite me. My fork and knife paused in midair. I looked up at her, my tone still calm and measured. "So I'm asking, Mary, do you really see him as your patient? Or are you starting to hope he'll say, 'Thank you, Mary,' and then switch to, 'Thank you, wife'?" She froze, her eyes showing panic for the first time. I wiped the corner of my mouth, stood up, and walked back to the study, leaving only one sentence. "If you don't want to come, I can book a hotel for you in advance, the kind where you can spend the rest of your life with him." At 10:30 p.m. on Friday, I received a call from the hospital saying my father had suddenly developed angina and had just been admitted to the ICU. I rushed out of the meeting room, hailing a taxi while calling Mary. She didn't answer but sent a message. "Working overtime unexpectedly, a bit busy. We'll talk when I get back." I stared at those words and let out a cold laugh. Then I opened her location sharing, something I had enabled earlier to conveniently pick her up after work, and it had remained on ever since. The location shows Hoshino Hot Spring Hotel, couples floor. I understood everything in an instant. "Isn't today the day?" Ryan posted on social media about his birthday countdown. My father was rushed to the emergency room, yet she took someone else to a hot spring? Great. I calmly instructed my assistant to handle my father's hospitalization procedures, then drove straight to that hot spring hotel. Along the way, I opened my WeChat alt account and looked at Ryan's friends-only post. "Sneaking out with Mary for a trip? Never had such a happy birthday. Thank you. I really like you so much." The photo is a selfie by the hot spring, with him wrapped in a bathrobe, revealing a hint of his abs. At the edge of the frame, the familiar lady's watch with its pink dial is clearly visible. I recognize it. It's the limited edition I gave Mary. He even added a caption. "Mary said she's turning off her phone tonight to spend time only with me." I laughed, so afraid of being disturbed by me. How considerate. Arriving at the hotel, I didn't alert the front desk. Instead, I had the investigator arranged in advance by the detective agency retrieve the check-in information and surveillance footage for me. Soon it was confirmed they were staying in room 803. I didn't knock. I only did one thing. I screenshotted his social media post and shared it on my own social media and alternate Weibo account with the caption, "My dad just got admitted to the ICU. My wife claimed she was working overtime with her phone off. Yeah, I found her celebrating her student's birthday at this couple's hot spring resort. The clothes are mine. The watch was a gift from me, and the money was earned by me. How long do you think I should give them to pack their bags?" Weibo and WeChat moments exploded instantly. I've always had a strong voice, and with the reputation of my law firm, this post exploded like ignited dynamite, rapidly shared, screenshotted, and flooded with skyrocketing comments. "Holy shit, is that Mary? Didn't she just do that couple's public interview where they praised her as a model woman? Student? Hot spring?" My hair was practically on fire just hearing this. I sat in the car, watching the skyrocketing number of reposts while leisurely dialing the hotel front desk. "Room 803. I'm her husband. Please inform the occupants that in 15 minutes, this room will become the center of media attention. They should prepare themselves. Less than 5 minutes." Mary's phone finally rang, 10 calls in a row. I only answered the last one. Her voice was urgent. "George, where are you? What did you send?" I laughed. "Right downstairs from you. I'll give you 5 minutes. Get down here and explain." Either that, or I'll bring the media up right now to see how high Mary's private morals really are. Silence on the other end. A minute later, I watched as Mary, looking flustered with disheveled hair, hurriedly ran down from the hotel elevator. The moment she saw me, her eyes were filled with terror. "George, it's not what you think. I stepped forward and slapped her hard. She staggered back from the blow. I stared at her, my voice icy cold. "My dad is in the ICU, and you're soaking in hot springs." Mary didn't take that slap from me lightly. She stood at the hotel entrance for 10 minutes, trying to pull me aside to explain something about he was just emotionally unstable. I was worried he might do something rash. I was just accompanying him through his emotional journey. I didn't listen to any of it. I just kept a cold expression and said one sentence. "You're already walking his path. Whether you turn back now or not, I no longer care. What I do care about is whether the two of you can bear the consequences that follow." After returning home, I immediately called the person in charge of the Bright Start Scholarship. From now on, all scholarship benefits for Ryan are terminated, and mark a negative record in the system backend. I'll issue a written statement. The assistant was clearly startled. "But he was one of the key candidates you personally selected for support, and the media just featured him in a promotional piece. Pull it," I said emotionlessly. "His resources came from me. Taking them back is only right and proper." Next, I contacted the Alumni Affairs Office at my alma mater. "Please revoke Ryan's status as student representative. He is suspected of false representation and inappropriate public conduct, violating the ethical standards of scholarship. I recommend the university give this matter special attention." After finishing all this, I opened the screenshots of Mary and Ryan's chat records to confirm the content one last time. The last thing he said was, "Mary, I really can't hold on much longer. Can you please not leave me to endure this alone?" And Mary replied, "As long as I'm here, no one can bring you down." I stared at those words, chuckled, and immediately clicked forward, attaching the screenshot to my anonymous Weibo alt account with a caption, "Look how heartfelt she sounds. Too bad she said the exact same thing to me 2 years ago when my mother was on her deathbed." This screenshot triggered a second wave of online frenzy. Many longtime fans who once praised Mary as beautiful, gentle, and responsible suddenly turned against her. On the afternoon of the second day, when the entire internet began to revolt, Mary stormed into my office. She didn't even knock, charging in aggressively. "George, you've gone too far. You know he's relying on scholarships to study and my financial support to live. Now, with what you've done, he can't even stay in the dormitory anymore. He's really on the verge of a breakdown." I closed the case file in my hands and looked up at her. "Mary, I remember we didn't adopt a son. He relies on scholarships to study, but that doesn't mean he can misuse resources to flirt with you. He depends on your financial support to live, but that doesn't mean he can wear my clothes and post pictures. If he's having a breakdown, there are plenty of psychiatrists. I can recommend some. As a doctor, you shouldn't let personal emotions cloud your professional role. She glared at me. He's just a poor soul. I retorted, he's just a fraud. A parasitic personality who can feign breakdowns while precisely targeting you. You're merely the victim role he selected. But right now you're not even a victim. You're just a fool. She couldn't speak. I didn't intend to waste any more words. The divorce papers are ready, but you don't need to sign them yet. It's not the right time. But starting today, he won't be by your side anymore. He's using the money I gave him, living in the house I bought, studying with the scholarship I set up, and even you. I crafted the image he presented to you. I'm taking all of that back now. She glared at me, her eyes brimming with deep hatred for the first time. You're just too controlling. That's why I was drawn to him. He just wanted to be grateful, to stand up on his own through hard work. It was you who pushed him to the brink of collapse. I stood up with a cold laugh, staring into her eyes. Mary, I don't care if he's having a breakdown. What I care about is when you started thinking his suffering qualifies him to share benefits for me. At 6 a.m, the phone rang. The screen displayed unknown number. I didn't want to answer it first, but somehow my fingers moved on their own and swiped the accept call button. Hello, is this Mr. George? We're from the emergency department at City Central Hospital. There's a young man named Ryan here who attempted suicide by jumping this morning. His condition is stable now. We found your business card among his belongings. He said it was because you stopped funding him that he felt driven to this. I let out a cold laugh instantly. No way out? I hung up the phone, changed my clothes, and headed straight to the hospital. When the elevator doors opened, I saw Mary kneeling by the ward entrance, her eyes red, looking as if she was grieving over a seriously injured lover. Inside the ward, Ryan was wrapped in bandages, his face still bearing scratches, staring blankly at the ceiling. I walked over and stood between them. Mary saw me and suddenly stood up, grabbing my arm. What are you doing here? To see if he's not dead enough? My eyes turned cold. Say that again. She gritted her teeth. Why did you have to push him to this point? He's just a boy trying hard to change his fate. He did nothing wrong. George, are you only satisfied when you trample and crush him? You heartless man, you're nothing but a murderer. Silence fell all around. The nurses and doctors all stopped in their tracks, looking in our direction. I saw the hatred in Mary's eyes, a gaze that regarded me as a complete enemy. I let out a light laugh and pulled my arm free from her grip, withdrawing my money, cutting off the funding under my name, protecting the brand I designed. That's what you call driving him to his death? Mary, you're truly insane. She stopped speaking, only trembling as she reached to push open the hospital room door. I stopped her. Don't rush. Do you remember the Bright Star Scholarship Agreement we signed? It clearly states, students must not harass donors or their families in any form. Violations will result in immediate termination of funding and potential legal consequences. I've submitted a copy of this agreement to the court, requesting to freeze his recent non-educational expenditures, including the 2 large sums you transfer to him. And he's the next target I plan to sue. I pulled out a stack of documents and threw them at her feet. Malicious misappropriation of marital funds, concealment of assets, and unauthorized gifting of valuable property to others without spousal consent. She stood there, completely frozen. Are you really going to be this ruthless? I spoke word by word. It's you who are too filthy. Besides being a lawyer, I'm also the owner of a clothing brand. My brand, LZ Attorney Collection, had originally scheduled its new season launch event for next Wednesday. This is my most treasured haute couture design, created in collaboration with an international brand, representing nearly a year of meticulous planning and effort. From selecting the styles and finalizing the models, to writing the keynote speech, and even crafting a single line of copy for the invitations, I personally oversaw every detail. Yet, the night before the event, my assistant called me, her voice trembling on the verge of tears. Mr. George, the press conference has been moved up to 9 a.m. this morning. Mary, she signed off on the schedule change, saying you had already authorized it. The venue is already being set up, and the spokesperson has been replaced. My fingers tightened. Who's the new spokesperson? It's Ryan. I didn't say anything, hung up the phone directly, and drove straight to the scene. When I arrived at the venue entrance, the security guard still wouldn't let me in, telling me, Mr. George's pass has been invalidated, canceled verbally by Ms. Mary. I slammed my hand on the security registration desk. I'm the brand director of LZ. Who dares to stop me? The assistant finally arrived and secretly handed me the spare ID badge. I slipped in through the backstage. The first scene I saw when I pushed open the backstage door, Ryan stood in front of the dressing mirror, wearing the very outfit I had designed. The star of the show, the platinum haute couture light of the rules, and the script I had been revising just last night. He was holding it, reciting it with practiced ease. Beside me, Mary wore an elegant black evening gown, exuding nobility, and whispered, "Don't be nervous. The media have all been briefed. Later, just naturally say the line, 'Thanks to Mary, I can stand here today.'" Ryan smiled and said, "You're the most important person in my life." I stood at the entrance and walked in, step by step. The heavy leather shoes thudded against the floor as both of them turned their heads in unison. "Go on, why stop talking? Your acting is even more convincing than when you were jumping off the building." Mary's face turned pale. "George, how did I get here?" I sneered. "This entire launch, from the name to the copy, from the outfits to the set design, even the damn shoes you're wearing, was all my work. You thought moving a few files, swapping models, and deleting my email notifications would keep me in the dark. Mary, did you really think you could mess with me?" Ryan looked flustered as he rushed to Mary's side. "I didn't mean to. I just wanted to help fulfill your wish to do what little I could." "Shut up." I raised my finger at him, standing on the platform I designed. "How dare you talk about wishes? Do you know how many people's hard work you're trampling underfoot? Do you know that the suit you're wearing took me 3 months of sleepless nights, drafting designs, and 5 trips to Paris for fittings?" Mary's face turned cold. I just wanted to give him a chance. "He's always worked so hard." I interrupted. "Worked hard?" His way of working hard was sleeping with my wife, stealing my blueprints, and playing the victim while pretending to be crazy. "Mary, are you blind or just stupid?" All the media cameras had secretly started recording. My assistant had already informed me. The live broadcast was connected to the projection screen. I turned toward the media direction. "Today's press conference is canceled because we've been jointly schemed against by a mole, an infringer, an unethical doctor, and a mistress attempting to replace the brand principal. But rest assured, they haven't succeeded yet." I pulled out copies of the temporary court freeze order and the brand asset recovery lawsuit from my bag, raised them toward the media cameras, and declared, "From now on, Mary and Ryan are suspected of stealing LZ brand commercial data, illegally hacking into the system to tamper with schedules, and maliciously impersonating the founder's identity." The judicial process has officially commenced. The day after the press conference incident, the topic exploded on trending searches. The sponsor's wife brought the mistress to replace the original founder on stage. She refused to admit her mistake, saying, "He's just too domineering." A mistress fakes a suicide attempt to secure her position. Brand owner publicly exposes the scene. The entire internet erupted like a boiling pot, with everyone digging up dirt on Mary and Ryan, the modern-day ungrateful duo. Meanwhile, I sat in my office, sipping Dahong Pao tea and flipping through equity transfer documents. The assistant reported, 3 partner hospitals of Mary's psychological clinic have sent letters terminating their cooperation. In addition, regarding the infringement cases you instructed us to file against her, the court officially froze her personal account and 2 properties under her name today. Also, regarding Ryan, we discovered that he recently transferred $800,000 from your ex-wife's account, which has been moved in batches to overseas bank cards. I nodded. "Contact the police and report him for fraud. By the way, ask the reporters to capture some footage of the former sponsor being sued, secretly emptying the apartment late at night. Post it right on the Weibo homepage. I pressed the official seal in my hand onto a legal demand letter and pushed it to the edge of the desk. Mary had originally planned to use her public persona to whitewash her image again, but major psychology forums directly banned her IP, and netizens collectively reported her for pretending to be a moral saint. She planned to borrow money from a friend to tide over, but as soon as she called, the other party hung up instantly. The next morning, she drove out to negotiate with the company to maintain resources, but was stopped right after leaving home. The court had frozen her car, and she became a dishonest person subject to enforcement. Her car was towed away, and her credit cards were frozen. When she tried to call Ryan, she couldn't get through no matter how many times she dialed. It wasn't until 10 p.m. that she received a call from the police. "Ms. Mary, please cooperate with the court investigation. There have been substantial fund movements between your account and a fraud suspect currently on the run." She froze on the spot. She watched helplessly as her credit collapsed, reputation ruined, bank account emptied, and her parents hospitalized from anger. Like a madwoman, she came running to find me at the entrance of Everest Group, on a rainy night, drenched and utterly disheveled. "George, you've won. Let me go. I've lost everything." I stared at her. "Haven't you always wanted to hold an umbrella for him? Can you handle your debts and lawsuits now?" I slowly took a step back. "Get out of my sight and don't dirty the floor of this building." She knelt down, crying and begging me. "George, we've been husband and wife for so long. Please give me a way out." I chuckled softly. "I'll leave you one. Don't you like psychology? I'm from the Everest Group cleaning department, and we happen to need someone to scrub toilets. Remember to bow to me every day when you come to and leave work." On the day Ryan was arrested, the trending topic on Weibo was particularly ironic. Modern Prince Charming apprehended. Whereabouts of millions in charity funds remain a mystery behind the case of the male college student's fraud. There was actually the shadow of a renowned doctor. I watched as he was escorted into the police car on the live broadcast, then tapped my finger to switch to another scene. The interrogation room in the detention center. Of course, I wasn't an ordinary person who could access such footage. I had my connections. He cried, "It wasn't me, it was Mary. She told me to take the money for the project. That's why I did it." She said, "Don't worry. With George's money backing us, there's nothing to fear, and that's why I dared to move it." I was just following her words. I only loved her, that's all. Meanwhile, on the other side, Mary was being questioned by the police. He first said he couldn't afford rent and wanted to kill himself. That's why I softened and sent the money. He kept saying, "If you help me, I'll give you anything," and I lost my head for a moment. I truly didn't know he was embezzling the funds. I was deceived by him too. Like two snakes trapped in the same cage, they first bit each other, then turned to bite the very hands that once fed them. I sat in the conference room, watching coldly. The assistant couldn't help but laugh. One says she made me lie. The other says he seduced me. Why does this feel like watching a reality show where dogs bite each other? I smiled faintly. Because they are indeed dogs, just that before they were fed by their master, but now they've lost everything and started tearing into each other. When we were their owners, they were pets. After we abandoned them, they became stray dogs. Police investigation progress continues to update. Ryan is suspected of fraud involving nearly 1.5 million yuan. Mary is suspected of assisting with transfers and concealing information, and will enter the stage of investigation as an accomplice. All joint assets have been frozen and will be subject to judicial auction upon completion of the investigation. I instructed the legal team to issue a public statement regarding the illegal tampering with LZ brand resources and the misuse of the former brand consultant's identity. We have completed evidence collection and handed the case over to our legal team to file a lawsuit in accordance with the law. This brand will never employ professionals who violate ethical standards, nor will we tolerate any form of plagiarism or betrayal. The copy was reposted over 10,000 times within 10 minutes of being sent out, and the comment section was boiling. I opened a private message from a female journalist who had interviewed me before. "Attorney George, are you satisfied with the outcome of their mutual attacks?" I replied with 6 words. It's far from enough, still a long way to go. That day was the LZ brand's autumn-winter new collection launch event. As the founder, I sat in the center seat, with the front row filled with buyers, media, fashion bloggers from around the world, and over 100 partners. Meanwhile, outside the venue, the security front desk received a phone call saying, "Mr. George, there's a Ms. Mary at the door who claims to be your ex-wife. She's begging to see you." I set down the documents in my hand. Let her kneel and wait. The security guard, she's already kneeling. I glanced at the city outside the window, drenched in pouring rain, and a faint smirk curled at the corner of my lips. The press conference went smoothly. I stepped onto the stage, explained the design philosophy behind this collection, and received wave after wave of applause. After it ended, I leisurely made my way downstairs and arrived at the entrance of Everest Group. Mary was kneeling there, drenched from head to toe, looking like a dog that had been run over by a car and then thrown into a muddy pond. She raised her head and saw me. Her eyes bloodshot, a wound on her forehead from where she had knocked it, rainwater mixed with streaks of blood, her hair plastered tightly to her skin, utterly wretched in appearance. George, I know I was wrong. I'm sorry for our marriage. Please give me a chance." She crawled toward me frantically, trying to grab the hem of my clothes. I stepped back with a cold expression. "Do you remember calling me a murderer? But now? He got 3 years. You yourself have been professionally banned, credit frozen, property seized. Even your parents dare not show their faces in public. Do you think I'd even glance at you if you came crawling back like this?" Her entire body trembled. I was wrong. I was truly wrong. I was bewitched by him at the time. I was foolish. I was despicable. I have nothing left. Please, for the sake of our 10 years of marriage. Before she could finish, a voice interrupted her. "George, what has our family ever done to wrong you? How can you be so heartless?" It was her mother, who rushed forward in tears and grabbed my hand. "No matter what issues you two have as a couple, how could you just stand by and watch Mary suffer like this? Auntie, I'm begging you, George. The Leong family can barely hold on anymore. Just give us a way out, won't you? She's already admitted her mistake, hasn't she?" I stood there, the rain pattering against my umbrella. I watched their pleading faces, angry, humiliated, yet unwilling to accept defeat, as if they were the victims. I uttered softly, "She doesn't deserve forgiveness." Ryan's verdict came down quickly. Fraud, embezzlement, misappropriation, fake charity. 8 charges in total, sentenced to 3.5 years in prison and fined 100,000 yuan. Before being imprisoned, he tearfully shouted, "I'll come back and reclaim everything that's mine," while journalists broadcasted the scene live. Bullet comments flooding. "What belongs to you? George's watch? His wife? His company? Let me find you a shovel, so you can start digging right after getting out of prison." Meanwhile, Mary's life had also reached its end. She was blacklisted for dishonest, her company went bankrupt, the family estate was mortgaged, and her parents moved into a rental home, surviving on welfare. She could no longer find a job, with no friends or resources by her side. The last time I heard about her was when my assistant handed me an urgent file. Mary passed away due to ineffective medical rescue efforts, leaving behind a handwritten note before her death, which read as follows: "George, I'm sorry. It was my fault for not seeing clearly, for being greedy, for being foolish. I should have known long ago that you were the light in my heart. Can you forgive me just once? Even just once?" Mary the First folded that piece of paper and casually tossed it into the shredder. She thought a simple "I'm sorry" could make up for all the time, emotions, dignity, and trust I've lost. Too bad. I don't need it anymore. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing at the brightly lit city. The assistant whispered behind me, "Mr. George, the global tour for LZ's new season is scheduled for next month. Has the Paris premiere venue been confirmed?" I nodded and picked up the new design drafts on the table, flipping to the first page. On it was my signature, LZ Director, George. I smiled and said, "Let's go to Paris. I have an even bigger stage to conquer."